Hello, everyone. Today we'll talk about yoga or introduction to yoga. Firstly, what is yoga? Yoga is a scientific approach to transformation, and transformation simply means rearranging the patterns. So we bring forward the behaviors, actions that are helpful to and unique to us, and we end the behaviors, things that don't work. As we express our unique talents, personality, we can shine with life. So when we embark on the yogic path, we can shift our perspective, and that changes our reality. Everything we need is already inside. The only problem is there's so much noise we forget to listen. And yoga helps us to find that innermost voice, our own truth. And yoga is not something that you read or think about or philosophize. It's a way of practicing. And practice includes asana, physical fitness, prana, breathing exercises, and meditation. So we keep the body strong, we cultivate clear mind, and it helps us to sustain intention. We chant, meditate, and study the ancient text. As a result, we have a good understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Let's talk about brief origins of yoga from the text perspective. Yoga is a part of the six darshanas, and darshan means philosophies, worldviews, or teaching. And they are Samkhya Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. Kappa Upanishad is one of the earliest texts that mention yoga, and like many similar texts, the concept of yoga is explained in the form of story. So, when we learn the path towards freedom and transformation, we listen to Yama, the deity of death itself, explaining a story of liberation to a boy, how to leave behind joy and sorrows, and to overcome death itself. So that's about 3rd century BCE. Then there is a later text that's called Maitri Upanishad, and pardon me if I butchered the pronunciation, and it describes the sixfold yoga method, and it includes breath control, pranayama, withdrawal of senses, pratyahara, meditation, dhyana, sustained concentration, dharana, philosophical inquiry, tarka, and absorption, samadhi. So these 6 elements, except for philosophical inquiry, become the subject of Patanjali Yoga Sutras, while the selection of Mahabharata, 3rd century BCE, known as Bhagavad Gita, lays out 4 paths of yoga. Karma Yoga, Yoga of Action, Jnana Yoga, Path of Knowledge, Bhakti Yoga, the Path of Devotion, and Dhyana Yoga, the Path of Meditation. So one of my favorite and essential texts are Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and it was conducted by a sage who was called Patanjali, and it consists of 196 aphorisms or sutras, and they all loaded with meaning. And it's so awesome because first, in our tradition, you learn the sutra in Sanskrit and it becomes a part of your brain, of your makeup. Then you unpack a meaning with a teacher, then you practice it, ask questions. So it's really cool. And the best part of it, it's not like something that you given on faith. No, you practice, you meditate on it, you do asanas, you physical exercises, and you make it your own. So, chapter 1, there are 4 chapters in the text. Chapter 1, 51 Sutras on intense concentration. And that's for people with refined or yogic mind, focuses on intense concentration. And there's a definition of yoga in the first chapter as well. Second chapter, 55 Sutras, is our primary practice or path to practice. It's for students with unsteady and easily distracted mind. Most of us, including truly yours, are here. And the second chapter is titled Prescription For practice, Patanjali gives us a system on how to bring the mind into a state of equanimity. We'll spend a lot of time typically in the second chapter. Firstly, all our actions can be considered yoga. When the action is considered yogic, when we have an intensity, tapas, awareness, svadhyaya, attitude of acceptance, or not focusing on the results, ishvara pranidhanadva, and that's yoga or yogic actions. And we suffer when our actions are not yogic. In other words, the unfocused mind causes suffering. Then the text further elaborates what kinds of suffering and recommends solutions. Again, practical, super practical application. Next, here is very exciting for a lot of people who practice and study yoga is Patanjali introduces 8 limbs of yoga or Ashtanga yoga. The third chapter is 56 sutras, and we've got the power. It's what happens when you have a yogic mind. It's very interesting. It talks about extraordinary powers. The next chapter is Kaivalya Pada, which is 34 sutras. It's delving deeper and it's liberation. So it's very interesting concept also. Here we talk about the seer and the observer and what happens when we have these extreme powers. But of course, the booties or powers are not the goal of yoga. The goal of yoga is liberation. So here you have it, my friends. I really hope that it will be helpful for you and inspiring so you can embark, like myself, on the path of yoga. And please let me know your thoughts. And of course, I'm going to share with you briefly how yoga changed my life. I was very unhealthy, smoking and drinking, like many of us. And then I just hit the bottom. And sometime in 2000, there was a studio where I used to work on Lafayette, Javamukti Yoga. And I tried a class and it was fun. I liked it. 20 years later or more, with 800 hours under my belt, I still practice every day, and I'm teaching privately, and soon after 2020 teaching in person. I'm not sure yet where and how, but in the meantime, please reach out and contact me if you'd like to practice and study with me. Thank you so much for your attention.